Get out of your student loans. How many of y'all have student loans? By show of hands. Lots of hands. Okay, so our job is to help you get out of those student loans. Right now, we have a big problem in this country. $1.8 trillion, as you heard. Most of that's federal. The only way we're going to fix this problem is to allow the government to exit the lending business. How many people agree with that? Got to get the government out of the lending business and put the problem back over to the private markets where it belongs. Let capitalism do what capitalism does, solve problems. So my partner and I, we created Y-Refi on the idea that we want to help borrowers. What do we have? We have borrowers that are in trouble. Most of these borrowers have co-borrowers. Okay, y'all are here going to school. You have big dreams. You should be dreaming big, and if you're not, well, you might want to start. Dreams come with a cost, though, okay? And then you got to pay that back. It comes with a cost. So when you get out of school and you're ready to start paying that student loan back, and all of a sudden you can't afford that student loan, that's when a company like Y-Refi steps up. Okay, because we care about you. We want to hear your story. I'm going to tell you a couple of really cool things about Y-Refi. When you call, you're not going to get a phone tree. You're going to get a human being. Isn't that cool? Right there in Phoenix, Arizona, you're going to talk to a person who's going to answer the phone. They're going to hear your story. And we hear a lot of really horrible stories. Okay, and I'm going to tell you right now, when a borrower or a co-borrower calls in and they're crying and they're upset because they can't afford those massive payments, and then they hear that at Y-Refi our payments are about 50% of what they were being asked to be paid before. 50%, guys, that's our average. That's pretty big. So if you're in trouble, we invite you to give us a call. Go to yrefi.com, check us out. Now, here's the other cool part. My partner and I, we believe in capitalism, entrepreneurship, innovation, and what we do to fund our company, to make it work, to do the things that need to be done. We raise our capital through independent, what's called an accredited investor, people just like you looking to do well by doing good, helping the Y-Refi mission. So if you want to learn more about who we are as a company, you want to learn about how to invest, check out investYrefi.com. Okay? So, we got a heck of a lineup for you tonight. I had the pleasure of meeting Eric and Laura Trump. Who's excited about that? Very cool, very cool. All right, so I'm going to wrap up on this by saying, give us a call if you have any questions. You want to learn more about Y-Refi, again, it's yrefi.com. We're real pleased to be sponsoring this tour. It's a real treat to work with the folks at Turning Point. If you're a potential investor, check us out at investyrefi.com. I'm going to end by saying, may God bless the United States of America. May God bless Auburn. May God bless Y-Refi, and more importantly, everyone at Turning Point. Erica Kirk is amazing. God bless her as well. Thank you, everybody.
Senator is mic'd. I am standing by this motion.
Please welcome Senator Tommy Tuberville.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I think I've been here before. I tell everybody that doesn't know me very well backstage, Coach, you been here? I said, well, I live 3 blocks from here. Yeah, I've been here before. Hey, this is awesome. It's a great time. And we're here for all of you young people here tonight that are in school. We've got some high school people here. And thanks for coming. We got a lot of adults. this brings tears to your eyes of what Turning Point has been through, Erica has been through over the last, 2 or 3 months. It's been a tough time. It's been a tough time for everybody. It's been a tough time for our country. So I want to thank everybody for supporting, not just tonight, but Turning Point USA. It is a phenomenal organization that's making a lot of progress. Charlie was a good friend. One thing that he wanted to do was bring knowledge to young people. It was awesome. Talked to him several times. You know, Charlie and I met back in 2020 when I was running for Senate, and he actually helped me get elected. And he's a very positive person, loved this country, but he really loved young people. You know, he and I talked a lot about education. And that was the one thing he and I had in common. And that's one reason we talked a lot. And he said, Coach, we've got to do something for the young people. I said, well, for 40 years, I've been around young people. I'll help you as much as possible, but you relate to them. You relate to them very well. So we kind of had two different paths. I was through education and coaching, and Charlie obviously was somebody that was in my realm of being 30 years old, could really relate. But I really liked what he did, and he took it on himself to go out and say, you know, I want to debate young people. I want to get people in front of me, and whether I convince them or not, whether I'm right or wrong, I want people to hear how people are talking, how people are thinking. We don't do enough of that in politics. We don't do enough at all. So Charlie and I went through a lot of interviews together. I was on his show quite a bit. Matter of fact, I think the last interview was August the 25th, just a few weeks before he was assassinated. Yeah, it was a tough time for all of us. It was a tough time, obviously, for our family, but I knew what had happened because they tried to stop a dynasty. They tried to stop somebody that was there for the people and not for themselves. You know, President Trump called me back, in June or so. He said, Coach, I want you and Charlie Kirk, you know each other well. I want you to be on the board at the Air Force Academy. We're having problems. We're having problems with leadership. We're having problems with DEI. We're just having problems. And that's one area of our country that we need leaders. You know, Charlie was smart. He understood the leaders. He really understood them. And he said, you know, we need leaders. The first time I met with him about the Air Force Academy, he said, Coach, we need leaders. We don't need followers in this institution. And he was exactly right. We made a lot of progress just in the few months that we were on it together, but now we're going to continue to fight. We're going to fight for what he knew was right and what I knew was right, but we got to fight for not just our Air Force academies, but for all institutions, all higher education, all high schools. Speaking of leaders, Charlie was supposed to be here tonight. We had made this date, he and I, an organization back in July, and I was supposed to introduce him. And so Charlie's here with us. He's here with us in spirit. We're going to take his legacy on, but it's going to be hard to uphold everything that he knew because he was so smart. You know, Charlie was waking up millions of young people every time he talked, because now with the internet and social media, everything got out there that he talked about, even during all of his debates. You know, the one thing about Charlie, he was waking up millions of young people at a time. He was waking them up because he was telling the truth. And you know what? He lost his life for it. He lost his life because he was telling the truth. He was never afraid of it, but he knew that he was in harm's way at times, but he lost his life because he went out there for all of us and for all of you because he was telling the truth. The most important thing that Charlie had going for him in his life was his faith. I mean, there wasn't a time that went by he didn't talk about his kids that I talked with him and his wife, but also his faith. He was a true evangelist. He really studied the Bible. He thought it was the ultimate source of truth. You know, the one thing that I watched, I didn't go to Phoenix to the memorial, but the one thing that this president of a university walked out, and he talked only about 3 minutes, but it was kind of lasting. And just to tell you a little bit about what he did, Larry Arnn, who's the president of Hillsdale College, he told this story. He says, you know, I met Charlie 12 years ago during his memorial speech. He said, I met him 12 years ago, and I asked Charlie some real hard questions. And he said he couldn't answer some of them. Now, this is 12 years ago. Charlie asked Dr. Arnn, he says, how can I educate myself? He said, Dr. Arnn gave him this advice. He said, listen, read the Bible, read classic novels, study the history of this great country, and study our founding fathers. And Dr. Arnn said in that speech, he said, you know, he called me about 2 months later. He said, Dr. Arnn, I took your advice. I'm taking Hillsdale courses. He said, I just finished my first one online, Hillsdale course. And he said, about 6 months later, 6 months to a year later, he called him and he says, I just finished my 31st Hillsdale online course. I mean, this guy, he was absorbing knowledge. You know, he was high school educated, never went to college, but he's the most smartest and most realistic people that I've ever met. Unfortunately, this deranged leftist coward, and I'm going to call him that, he was afraid Charlie's message was becoming real. Charlie was waking up millions of people when they shot him. But the thing that happened, and I think as you see tonight, people woke up when this happened. But the Hillsdale course, after he took all those and educated himself, the next thing that Charlie would talk to you about was marriage. He talked to a lot of young people. If you ever watch his videos now, just make sure that you look at the three things he talks about. Marriage and family are the two most important after faith. He really loved his kids. And he would often tell people, he said, listen, if you're going to be happy in life, get married and have a family. That's what you're here for. The person you marry, he would say, is going to be the biggest decision of your life. Don't waste your time just dating around. Look for that one certain person, because that certain person is the most important decision, and it's going to make your life better, and it's going to make that person better that you're going to marry. You're going to have a long-lasting relationship. And he preached that. If faith is the foundation of this country, and he talked about faith a lot of times, family is a cornerstone of that. Children should be taught and take responsibility for their lives and be accountable. I've said this often when I was coaching. The only thing this country owes you, and Charlie would tell you this also because I kind of ingrained it in him, only thing this country owes you is an opportunity. Got the greatest country on the face of the earth, folks, the greatest country. But it didn't offer you a job. It doesn't offer you money. It offers you an opportunity to do the best that you possibly can do. But while you're working that job, and once you young people get out and you start working a job, just remember this one thing. Your work ethic, and you work very hard at it. You want to achieve something. You want to get better at whatever job you're doing. But as long as you're alive and you're working, also work on your personal development. Grow yourself. Grow yourself to Christ. Grow yourself to your family. Make yourself better every day. That success, if you're trying to be successful and trying to make money and do all those things, it will hinder you. Don't worry about all that. If you worry about personal development and work and do your work ethic, the success will find you. I promise you that. While you're in school, it's your job to better yourself. While you're working a job, it's your job to better yourself. The only person, Charlie would tell you this, the only person ultimately responsible for your success or your failure is you. Nobody else. Don't count on anybody else. You know, these are the lessons I learned from my parents, but unfortunately, parents are few and far between nowadays. It's unfortunate. That is killing our country, folks. A lot of people grow up with two parents. And I used to tell a lot of the groups I talk to this. If you're born in this country, you hit the lottery. Because this is the best country on the face of the earth, bar none, okay? If you were born in this country with two parents, you hit the lottery again, which is almost impossible. Thank you, parents. Now, when I coached, it didn't make any difference, black, white, red, green, Catholics, Protestants, Jewish, atheists, it didn't make any difference. The kids I coached, it's unfortunately in this country now have one or no parent. And it's kept that, unfortunately, for years, and it's getting worse. We need to make that go the other direction. That was one of the things that Charlie was working on, is keeping people together. Children who grow up without a father in the home are twice as likely to suffer behavioral and mental health problems. Think about that. So, to the young men who are here tonight, please step up. Save our country. Kids need fathers at home. Your job is to run the household. Your job is to teach knowledge and truth to your kids. We need fathers in the homes. When men fail, and they fail to step up into the role that God has given them, our society suffers. And folks, our society is in bad, bad trouble. We don't have enough fathers and mothers that stay together to raise their kids to make this country the country that it used to be. And that's one of the keys that Charlie always pushed. We need families, we need a tight marriage, and we need kids that are going to learn from their parents. So, we've talked a little bit about truth. In the few more minutes I have here, here's a few hard truths that Charlie and I kind of got together as we were talking about and doing shows and about education and about the future of our country. But here's a few truths, and I'm going to tell you the truth, and they're not fun to listen to. Our country's dead broke, folks. I used to be a football coach. Now they call me a politician, and I'm embarrassed. We are, as of last Tuesday, we're $38 trillion in debt. $38 trillion. Do you know how much $1 trillion is? $1 trillion is $100 bills stacked 3 feet high from here to Atlanta, Georgia. That's a lot of money. And we're 38 of them in debt. You know who owes that bill? You do. You owe that bill because it's going to be your next generation that's going to have to take care of it. And folks, that ain't fake money. That is real, live American money. You know, I'm not an economics professor, but I've learned one or two things about budgets in my lifetime. You know, the U.S. government brings in $5 trillion a year. That's how much tax money that comes to Washington, D.C., $5 trillion. We spend $7 trillion a year in Washington, D.C. Now, I'm not real good at math, but I know that doesn't equal out very well, okay? If we bring in $5 million and we spend $7 million, that means $2 trillion of your money that you're going to have to make up one day. That's unsustainable. We can't keep that up. I used to own a small business, and if you spend money like that, you're either going to go to jail or you're going to go bankrupt. Well, we're bankrupt. Some people go to jail too, by the way. You know, if we keep this up, I want you to think about this. If you keep this up, 80% of your money, I'm talking to the young people here now, the taxes are going to be so high, you're going to have to pay 70, 80% of your paycheck just to pay off our national debt. That's going to leave you 20 or 30% to raise a family. It's impossible to do it. That's the reason we have to get control of our debt. It's impossible that we continue this pathway. You know what it's called? It's called socialism. We're turning into a socialist country. But you know what? That's the Democrats' plan. Charlie will tell you that. You saw what happened last night. We elected a mayor in New York City that is a pronounced and known socialist. I never thought I'd see it happen. But we're spending more and more money, and you know what? It's because the Democrats want to spend it. We're trying to cut back on the money. We're trying to help you young people sustain a budget for the future. But the Democrats could care less. They want to spend more and more money. I just don't understand it. I don't know whether it's they hate this country and they despise the Constitution, but they are running it into the ground. We cannot continue to do it. Here's what's happening. They want free health care. They want free housing. They want food stamps for everybody. Folks, to Democrats, that's the American dream, but it's oppressive. What it's doing is ruining our country. I heard Charlie talk about this many times. They'd rather see the American dream replaced by American dependence on big government. We can't do it. Tonight, I want you to ask questions about this when you have people come up and you have an opportunity to debate. They'd rather see the American dream challenged and let big government take over this country, and we're not going to allow that to happen. You know, I had lunch or breakfast this morning with President Trump, me and several other senators, and President Trump calls it, for the Democrats, it's called America Last, not what President Trump calls America First. We have to put America first. Which brings me to the second hard truth that Charlie talked about, and think about. You know, we're kind people. America is offered assistance to everybody. We send billions of dollars to all these other countries, but folks, we cannot allow open borders in this country like we've had the last 4 years. You know, our friend Charlie died with the word freedom written right here on his chest. Freedom for this country. He understood that freedoms we have in this country are under attack every day. And that's the reason he was wearing that shirt. Under the Biden administration, tens of millions of people came across our border illegally. We all knew it. We were trying to stop it, but we had no power. Thank God President Trump is trying to clean it up. But unfortunately, it's going to take a while and it's going to take a lot of money, and we're still spending billions of dollars to clean this mess up that belongs to you, your generation. We're a country of legal immigrants. We're immigrants or have ancestors that were immigrants. If you want to come here, we want you here, but come here the right way. But I want to say this, but if you come here and chant death to America, you refuse to go by our laws, you burn our flag, and have no intentions of assimilating and doing things that we do in the culture of the United States of America, take your butt home. Speaking of our next hard truth that Charlie and I used to talk about was identity politics. You know, the past few years, racism has been allowed to fester in this country. It's called DEI. DEI is just discrimination under a different name. Okay? I'm for merit. When I went in Jordan-Hare Stadium, if I didn't play the best people that worked the hardest, that could perform as a team and win games, I'd get fired. But today, in this country, we're allowing DEI to overtake our institutions, our agencies, and it's absolutely ruining our country. It cannot continue to happen. When I had players, I had black, I had white, I had red, I had Catholics, Protestants, rich, poor, middle class, it didn't make any difference. But you know what? They played their tail off because they played it as a team. They played and they knew if somebody made a mistake and somebody got on them from the other team, somebody had their back. Folks, that's what we got to have here. Somebody did something to one of our players, Charlie Kirk. We got to have his back. We got to have his back. And as I wrap up here, I got to bring this up. You know, some people are going to say something that might not like this, but folks, men are men and women are women. Thank you. I've had five bills on the floor in the United States Senate that says no more men in women's sports, and the Democrats all have voted them down. God gave us a clear understanding. He created men and women with different strengths and different weaknesses. He never wanted them to be confrontational. He wouldn't have wanted this. He wouldn't want men and women's sports. I've got my first grandchild, Rosie Grace, 8 months old, and I'll be damned if she's going to take a shower with a man when she's in sports. And one of the last things I want to talk about before we get on with the big program here is look at this culture war we're in. If you don't think we have a war going on, look at Europe, folks. Europe is gone. It's over. They've allowed immigration in our country, and these people aren't assimilating. They've opened their borders to millions of people. And we want immigration, but it needs to be legal here. But over there, they've absolutely opened their borders. They call it globalism. Crime is going through the roof. Their culture is at risk. And it's something different these people have ever seen. The other thing is in Africa, more than 100, and Charlie and I talked about this quite often, 100,000 Christians have been slaughtered and 18,000 churches have been burned in Africa. In Nigeria, 67,000 Christians have been murdered since 2000 by radical Islamists. So the bottom line is that Christianity is under attack, and we've got to stop it. Here's the deal. You don't have to understand mainstream media, Hollywood, liberal elites. We know where they're at. They hate Christianity. I mean, they've taken a side. They have actively seeking to destroy this country and silence everyone, because when they get our values, folks, it's over with. And that's the reason we have to fight for our faith and fight for Christ. It's going to be your generation. And I'm telling you, as a so-called politician, politicians aren't going to help you. It's going to be your generation that's going to get this mess straightened out. Charlie worked with a lot of people to move the ball down the field to get this going. Look at all these people in here. This is going to continue. We need to follow Charlie's example by pursuing the knowledge in this country, make yourself smarter, do things on your own, personal development, engage in thorough debate, debate those people that disagree with you peacefully. We're in a fight, folks. We're in a fight for our life. I'm going to fight, and I want you to fight. We're counting on you, all of you. Educate yourself, work hard, get married, and have kids. If you do that, your generation will save this world, will save this country. We're counting on you. Do the best you can, but again, we're behind you. We're for you. Greatest country ever. War Eagle.
Please welcome to the stage Auburn's Turning Point USA Chapter President, Jacob Roos.
Let's go, Auburn! How we doing tonight? War Eagle! Hey! Let's go, baby! Thank you all so much for being out here tonight. We really appreciate you. And thank you, Senator Tuberville. I know he's heading out of here real soon. We thank you so much for being here tonight as well. And personally, we're here to talk about Charlie tonight. Of course, we're here in his memory. I had the opportunity to meet him twice during my life. Once was at a CLS, and the first thing he ever said to me was a War Eagle. That's pretty awesome, isn't it? Never spoke a word to me before that. Next, I was able to have a small discussion with him on various topics as part of a focus group, and I could tell that that man genuinely cared to hear what our generation had to say. And so I know he's looking down right now on all of us, seeing how many people truly care about the country, and that's you guys right in front of me. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jacob Roos, and I have the honor and the privilege of serving as chapter president of Turning Point USA here at Auburn University. And our chapter here has been blown away by the response of our amazing community here in Auburn. I know we have thousands of people here from our community and our student body, and we greatly welcome you guys here to Auburn tonight. I would also like to acknowledge how many amazing people over the past few weeks who have been critical in supporting us as a chapter and overall as a whole as a community. We have been brought together by unfortunate circumstances, and we have gathered together to reignite the American dream within our country. I would also like to extend a thank you to security and law enforcement this evening, especially our friends over at Campus Security and Auburn PD and all the other entities involved tonight. Their meticulous planning and diligent work keep us safe here tonight and should not go unnoticed, and we appreciate everything that they do. I'd also like to give a shout out to our wonderful volunteers right up front that have dedicated their time today and last night for that matter to be here and put on this amazing event for all of us here tonight. Their help tonight would not have made this event possible. So thank you to all 74 of you guys. Also of note, I would like to recognize our amazing executive team we have here at Auburn and those who have worked tirelessly over the past month and a half to put this event together. I would like to acknowledge my Vice President, Marshall Egbert, right over there. Our Secretary, Andrew Bernstein. Our Treasurer, Lex Sorensen. Our social media team, Caroline Boren and Arden Warner. And most importantly, our events coordinator, Haley Ray. I'd also like to extend a shout out to Turning Point USA's team, and they have been a huge help in planning this event over the past month. And I'd personally like to thank our regional manager, Noah Durham. A little side note about Noah. About, I want to say 7 or 8 years ago, he actually founded our chapter here at Auburn University. And I would like to invite him on the stage to honor him as the founder of this chapter, and for him to be able to see what we truly have been able to do here in Auburn is truly incredible. So Noah, if you'd like to come on out here real quick. Noah is a graduate of Auburn University, 2018, 2017? Around there. And so with him not starting our chapter here at Auburn, this today would not have been possible. So thank you, Noah. So one of my favorite parts of being president is not only seeing my chapter grow, but seeing chapters in our surrounding communities grow as well. If you are interested in joining our chapter or starting a chapter, I recommend that you go check out our TPUSA table up there, the Get Involved table. We'll have QR codes for Auburn students to join our organization if you'd like, or if you'd like to start a chapter in your local community, high school students especially, and other college students as well, I'd recommend going to tpusa.com/getinvolved. For Auburn students not currently part of our chapter, we welcome anyone and everyone to promote open discourse within our community. Stop by our Get Involved tables to join today. And with that being said, please join me in honoring Charlie Kirk by holding up the rally signs that each and every one of you got and cheer for a photo tonight. Come on, Auburn, let's get loud, let's cheer, let's do this for Charlie. Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirk. Thank you all so much for joining us here tonight. We've got a great lineup for you guys going on the rest of the night. Get hyped. We got Benny Johnson, Eric, and Lord Trump all coming out here in a few minutes. Thank you, Auburn.
Joining us now is a great American and a great friend, Benny Johnson, host of The Benny Show. Benny, welcome to the program.
In the words of Jesse Smollett, this is MAGA country. Yes! And War Eagle! How we doing tonight? Good? How we feeling? You feeling that revival spirit? You feeling that revolutionary spirit? That comeback spirit? 1 year ago, tonight, President Trump won the 2024 election. And Eric Trump is backstage talking to someone very special who may be joining us tonight. We'll see, ladies and gentlemen. Who's excited for Eric and Laura Trump tonight in the house? Whew. We've been through a lot. I can hear the murmurs. You can guess who it is. We've been through a lot together. And I thought that to kick off this evening with all of you beautiful people, gosh, it is beautiful in here. This is an amazing crowd. Why don't we go through a little bit, why don't we walk down memory lane a bit? What we've all been through together in this, one of the single greatest comeback stories in human history, ladies and gentlemen. The movement of America First. Who's ready to go? Let's go. This photo is a historic photo. Maybe you recognize it. It is from Alabama, the very first MAGA rally in 2015. And a lady wrote, "Thank you, Lord Jesus, for President Trump." In 2015. When no one was even sure what a MAGA rally was. You got some prophets here in Alabama. And also, You got this lady. Whose mama is that? Who is she in the crowd tonight? By the way, this is 2015. Is this baby probably goes to Auburn, right? If you are this baby, raise your hand, please. I saw it right there. Thank you. You can come on up. You get an award. Most based baby in history. It was a tough race in 2016. President Trump was up against it. He was up against the establishment. He was up against some of the most corrupt and entrenched politicians in American history. He was up against the Uniparty. He was up against the deep state. And he was up against some real dark and evil corruption. And ladies and gentlemen, what that establishment didn't understand is that President Trump has always been our giant middle finger to the establishment. And he showed up when he did this.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Yeah, because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
If you've checked the news recently, you may know that Donald Trump is about to make good on that promise. Because you'd be in jail, lady. I hope they have extra wide pantsuits, but nonetheless, it was an uphill battle. Boy, look at that. What a doomer poll, right? 9% chance. This was on the eve of the election in 2016. But our Lord Jesus Christ loves a comeback, ladies and gentlemen. And that's what CNN looked like on election night. And this is what Hillary Clinton's victory party looked like on election night. And this is what libs looked like during the inauguration of our 45th president, President Donald Trump. Yes! But the angriest lib was Michelle. Michelle. Don't do it. Don't do the chant. Don't do it. It was a beautiful couple of years, wasn't it, Auburn? Wasn't it, Alabama? Look at that Christmas magic. Stop whistling at our First Lady. Man, I heard you. You dog. That's the baby from the first Trump photo, okay? He gets a pass, but your mom's still crazy. It was beautiful. Then something insane happened. What the hell is this? Nobody even knows. We want to forget it, right? This is a dark period in our country. Thankfully, Joe Biden didn't know any of it was happening. That's good. But it was a dark period, right? This was weird. Like, the guy can't even get a mask on. Needs to trim his eyebrows. Too many stories about corn pop. If you know, you know. But creepy ass Joe Biden, wobbling around the White House in his underwear. It was dark, man. Wasn't it? It was weird. It was strange. But did you lose faith as Christians? We got any Christians in the house tonight? We got any believers? Did you lose faith? No! Ladies and gentlemen, that is because in the darkest days, even when they gave, how amazing is this? You put up the mugshot of the president and everyone cheers. That's a backfire. What do we know as Christians? We know that Christ is king. We know that what man intends for evil, God intends for good. They said, we'll destroy this guy. We'll destroy Trump. We'll give him a mugshot. That'll do it. What they gave him was a rap album. All you got to do is put a parental advisory sticker on that, and it's the hottest banger of the summer. Playing that, if Trump dropped the track, you'd be playing it at the bars in Auburn. I know that as a matter of fact. Tried, ladies and gentlemen, they tried. They tried to destroy our boy. They came at him with everything. Judicial assassinations, political assassinations, literal assassinations. And what do we know? We know that President Trump told us what the scriptures tell us when we are in times of trouble, to seek solace in our Lord and to fight, fight, fight. Yes? And everything they kept throwing at him, man, it just backfired. And that's what happens, ladies and gentlemen. This assassination attempt, much like the mugshot that was meant to end President Trump, resulted in Elon Musk jumping for joy on stage with Donald Trump. It resulted in this incredible moment that Charlie Kirk brought about, where the king of McDonald's and the king of Maha joined together on stage. It was a beautiful thing. It was looking unstoppable. So they had to swap out the damn candidate. Now this is a photo of Kamala Harris hearing some guy up there in the audience, probably my dad, honestly. Thanks, Dad. What happened here was a historic moment. So they just swapped out Kamala, and a dude at Kamala rally goes, "Christ is king." And Kamala goes, "You're at the wrong rally." That's what she said. Ladies and gentlemen, if you believe Christ is king, you're at the right rally tonight. The next day, in case you're wondering if you're part of the movement here to save America, if you're part of a righteous movement that embodies the history and the future of America, the next day, in fact, our great Vice President, J.D. Vance, heard somebody yell, "Christ is king" at his rally. Here's what happened there.
To public policy. I don't think that we've, that's right, Jesus is king, and I don't think that we've seen.
Can you spot the difference? This election was so epic. This election was so epic. Man, Kamala Harris, not only did she lie about Christ being king, she also lied about working at McDonald's. What a weird thing to do. Who else has worked fast food? Does anybody work fast food? I work fast food. Who's worked as a server or a waiter? It's a beautiful job. It's a dignified job. You're serving your fellow man. It's an incredible job. You learn a lot. Kamala Harris engaged in working class stolen valor, is what she did, in claiming and lying about working at McDonald's. That, again, was intended to hurt or harm President Trump, and what did we end up getting? Sweet, salty fries with that one, Donald Trump, waving out of the window of McDonald's, saying, "How you like me now, Kamala? Eat the salt, live." And by the end of it, they might as well just change it to Donald's. It's iconic. Things were going so poorly, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Biden called MAGA garbage. Do you remember this? And how do we respond to that? Load up the garbage truck, baby. By the end of the campaign, Joe Biden was literally wearing MAGA hats. Do we remember this? And on election night, you have the 47th president of the United States. Woo! It was a thing of beauty. It was God. It was God. That's the only one who could do something like this. A comeback tour for the ages. On the here's what was happening in downtown Atlanta.
My girl just lost a day ago. Like, damn.
See ya later, Kamala. Ladies and gentlemen, we got our boy sworn in after all of this. And now he's passing out Trump 2028 hats in the White House to the Democrats. And J.D. Vance is to me. How did it happen? It happened because of God. What man intends for evil, God intends for good. That is the Donald Trump story. Christ loves a comeback. Christ is the comeback king. And God did appoint Donald Trump. In Romans 13, it says that God institutes the government of men. God determines our government. And he gives a righteous people a righteous government. He gives that government a sword to wield. A sword to wield to protect good men and women and for the terror of evil men. And that is what President Trump is doing right now. God bless President Trump and his administration for wielding the sword. You live in a red country, by the way. And I am sick of the hoax. I'm sick of a hoax that you are on the wrong side of history. If you are young, if you are under the age of 30, raise your hand right now. Look at this. Look at this. Can we see this incredible crowd? I want you to know something. You have been lied to. And I am going to spend the end of our speech here very quickly dispatching and destroying the single most evil lie that has been sold to you by the corporate press, by the Democrat Party, and by corrupt institutions, that you are on the wrong side of American history as young people who believe in America first and America only. Ladies and gentlemen, not only are you on the right side of American history, you are American history. You are the inheritors of American history, and I can prove it. Let's do it quickly. What is America? America, as defined by our founders, is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And you are the ones who embody all of those things. Let's talk about them in order. Well, this big, beautiful red map, where are we at right now? Right around here? Yeah? Okay. No. Right here. Yeah? Not the blue area, though. Ladies and gentlemen, sweet home Alabama. Alabama loves life, yes? Because God created life. The first book of Genesis, you don't have to look farther than that. God created life, and we believe that as Christians, that God marked us and stamped us with the sign of the Creator, that we are all made in God's image, so life is precious. 93% of the red parts of this country, Republicans, believe in a creator, believe in God. Are you one of them? Yes. Do you know as Democrats, that's only 50%. And that defines the entire problem right there. At 50% of their party, that's a coin flip. If you don't believe in God, then you can't believe in America. Because our founding documents, the first line says we are endowed by what? Our Creator. All men are created equal. Well, if you don't believe in a God, then you can't even believe in America. Am I right? Yes. So the Democrat Party has a real problem on their hands with just the first thing, life. You are also the inheritors of life because Republicans are the ones who create families. Republicans are the ones who want to be fathers and mothers and to carry forward our beliefs and our value system and our nation to make more Americans. In fact, when Gallup did a poll of young Trump supporters, they broke them out, men and women. Do you know the number one thing that young men wanted in their lives was to become a father and to become a husband? That was the number one priority. Young men on the left who voted for Kamala, we call them women actually, I don't know what their priorities were. I don't even know. Like, fatherhood was dead last, finding a new like a kitty litter box to pee in because I identify as a cat. I don't know. Maybe that's the priority. I'm not sure. I don't know. I know this, that is the legacy of Charlie Kirk. To inspire young men to be good fathers, good husbands, and to have babies, and to continue forward the American dream. That's life, ladies and gentlemen. Young people are also returning to the church. This is a historic generation. If you raised your hand and you were under 30, you are in the first generation, as far as I know, in human history that is returning to the church at a higher rate than your parents. This is incredible. That is finding religion. There is a true revival going on in this nation. And of course, as those in the Christian tradition, we are the inheritors of the conquest of life, ending child sacrifice. Ending child sacrifice as we know it, which is abortion today. Ladies and gentlemen, Christians are the ones who see value in life because we know that God created us. That's why we are pro-life. Unfortunately, there are communists who are winning elections in this country. They are anti-life. Communists show you that with all of their motivations and all of their moves. That's why I'm very worried about assassination culture on the left. I'm concerned about it because if you don't believe in God, if you don't believe in the value of life, you'll view it as permissible to kill for power. Communists always do that. There was a man elected as Attorney General, this top law enforcement official in the state of Virginia, just last night, who says he wants to murder Republican children. That is what we are fighting against. There is a literal communist elected as New York City mayor. This is in the legacy of Joseph Stalin, in the legacy of Mao Zedong, who slaughtered in the hundreds of millions their own people. We mustn't let communism win in this country, and life is the first step. Liberty. We are the party of liberty. We are the party that freed the slaves. Christian kingdoms like England freed the slaves. The first kingdoms to free slaves were Christian kingdoms. Ladies and gentlemen, we are the inheritors of liberty. We are the ones who believe in liberty. All men are created equal. If you're not a Christian, if you don't believe in God, then you don't believe that, actually. And while the left is obsessed with slaves here in this country from 150 years ago, they refuse to look at the continent of Africa, where there are 7 million people that are still currently enslaved in Muslim countries. They refuse to ever talk about it. So we'll talk about it here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. The inheritors of liberty also means that we have the liberty to go and explore and live exciting and liberated lives, to go out into the great beyond, to tame the West, to maybe even go to space. And that is why, there we go. You got one of Elon's sons in the front row. That is why I am honored tonight to bring on stage for you a special guest, President Trump's newly named selection for NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman is here in the house tonight, and he wants to say hello.
Hey, thank you so much. I can't tell you what an honor it is to be President Donald J. Trump's nominee to lead the world's most accomplished, the world's greatest space agency on what I think is the greatest adventure in human history. And I'll tell you, as a space guy, I love being in Alabama. I mean, we are home to the Marshall Space Flight Center, where Auburn graduates helped contribute to all the history the agency has made, and where Auburn graduates are going to contribute to all the history that we are about to make. And that's not all. Alabama is also home to Space Camp, where the next generation is getting inspired to grow up and to take us even higher, and where 30 years ago, my journey began at Space Camp. And I'll tell you, just ending on a very personal note, I didn't grow up very religious at all. And my mother's family, we celebrated Christmas. My father's family, we celebrated Hanukkah. But I can tell you, having gone to space twice and looking back on our planet, looking at the stars around us, it is very hard not to be spiritual. But it was only recently, in the last couple weeks, that I was inspired for the first time in a very long time to pick up the Bible. And I'll tell you why. It's because of Charlie, and it's for Charlie, and there's millions others just like me. Thank you.
He's too humble. He's a fighter jet pilot, and he's the only civilian to do a civilian spacewalk out in space. The guy is an absolute and total badass. Jared Isaacman will be leading NASA, and we are going back to the moon, baby. Ladies and gentlemen, the pursuit of happiness. Philippians says, rejoice in the Lord always, for again I say rejoice. We do things as a movement that leads to actual happiness. When you are contributing to your community, when you are creating families, when you are going to church, these are outward-looking activities. All available data says these are the things that actually bring you lasting, true joy and happiness. Conservatives are the ones who own those activities. The left is constantly looking inward, right? What are my pronouns today? Like, where is my litter box? Like, these are questions they ask themselves, right? Will my soy latte spill in the litter box? What shall I do? These are important questions for them. That's nihilism. It leads to collapse. It does not lead to lasting joy. They are a miserable movement. And we're happy, and that means we've already won, ladies and gentlemen. Final thing I'm going to say here is that in the Constitution it says life, liberty, and the pursuit of property in certain other instances. And that's something that we've lost in this country. I'm particularly horrified that the American dream of owning a home is so out of reach for all of the young people here. If you are 35 and younger, home ownership rates are at 30%. That's down by half from a generation ago. And we need to fix that. Who here wants to own a home one day? Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not one to break news in front of massive stadiums of people, but I want to announce right now a massive interagency and interinstitutional effort in order to encourage and provide resources from a massive federal level and a legislative level to ensure that we reignite the American dream for first-time young homebuyers. It will happen in this administration. We are going to make the American dream affordable again. We are going to make owning a home great again. And we're going to be able to raise our families, our Labradors, in these beautiful houses with white picket fences. And we're going to live like our grandparents, because you know what? They had a lot of nice things figured out. And you can sit on your front porch here in Alabama with your shotgun, happy in your Trump home. Ladies and gentlemen, what's it all for? That's it. This is it. This is what it's all for. This is my family. This is my motivation. This is what keeps me going. I needed to get a restraining order against Charlie Kirk because he texted me every single day after I got married, when are you having kids? 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 Since Charlie Kirk had such a profound effect on my life, since Charlie Kirk helped Christ center my life, I actually can't stop having babies. We're on number 4 in 4 years. And maybe number 5. We'll see. That is the motivator. And this is it in closing. That's it, isn't it? This is what America First is all about. America First for my American children. America First for your American families. And America First for the first family of America. Eric Trump and Laura Trump, let's go! Welcome to the stage.
How's everybody doing? Do we not love this man right here? This guy is truly one of the greatest fighters. And guys, we love this state and we love this university and we love all of you.
I think Benny did okay. How did he do, guys? Yeah.
By the way, the Hillary clips had me laughing. I haven't seen that one in a while. I'm glad you pulled that out of the archives, if that makes sense.
You were in the audience, right?
I was back there, but I was watching it on the TV.
No, during the Hillary,
we
you'd
were
be in
in
jail.
the audience
Yeah, we were
for
in the
that.
audience. We were in the
Absolutely.
What happened?
Well, you should have seen Bill Clinton's face, by the way, right? So that's the night my father got all of Bill Clinton's accusers, right? And he told everybody, he goes, we're going to have this practice, a debate session. I want all the media to come to it. And they all walked in, and it was all of Bill Clinton's accusers. And honestly, he sat in this little penalty box during the debate, and his jaw was still on the ground. I'll never forget it. It was like the greatest troll in the history of political trolls. And then he knocked her out of the entire race with those 3 famous words. So that was an amazing night.
And I was there too. And I just want to say, it is so cool to be at Auburn. War Eagles! Amazing. Should we sit? Benny, are we going to stand for this?
Yeah, that's right.
Eric Trump seemed like he wanted us to stand for this whole thing. But that's okay.
I like you not being a full foot higher than me on stage.
That was my top selling point. Do you guys know when Eric and I first met, I had no idea, no offense, honey, that Eric Trump even existed. But I'm 5'11", flat-footed. And so then I put on these heels. I'm like 6'2", 6'3". And I noticed this guy was taller than I was. And I was like, this could possibly work out. And this Saturday is our 11-year wedding anniversary. Yeah, not bad.
What was the Eric Trump pickup line?
Oh, his pickup line? Do you want to tell the story or would you like me
Why
to?
don't you go ahead and do it? Only because of the media's there. I'll let you tell the story and get in trouble.
So I went to New York City. I moved there from North Carolina. I moved to New York City. Oh, shout out. Okay, hey, love that. To go to culinary school of all things. How did I end up in politics? I don't even know. This is nuts. And I met Eric out one night, and most of these guys that would meet out would find out I was in culinary school, and they'd be like, oh, well, maybe we should cook together sometime. I'm like, oh, that's very original. Not this guy. He looks at me, he pinches my side, and he goes, I bet all your food sucks.
By the way, she's got like a 12-pack, all right? It's like, most chefs have a little bit of body fat. She doesn't have too much body fat.
And that's all it took for me. The rest is history.
I was very curious at that moment.
Does she still cook for you?
No, she hasn't eaten anything. All right, so I'll give everybody...
You went to culinary school.
So when she was trying to woo me, right, she'd make me an ice cream cake and by the way, she is a seriously good culinary. She was a great chef. And so I'd always have these beautiful cakes. They were ice cream cakes. Love ice cream cake. They'd be made in the shape of a heart, camouflage. She'd make a machine gun and put it on top, do something really aggressive. It was a lot of fun. And she would write me this little love note on this cake. And she'd cut me a slate every single night. And then after we had been dating for exactly 6 months, I haven't gotten a freaking ice cream cake since. So it was like the greatest bait and switch in history, right? I thought I was going to marry somebody who was going to cook for me all the time. We order more damn takeout than any couple ever, so.
I'll tell you what I did. I may have stopped making you cakes, but I made you 2 beautiful children, didn't I?
You did.
Woo! I think you won out in the end. I think it was a fair trade.
What's the secret to a long and lasting happy relationship?
Well, I think that whenever you go through hell with people, when you're in the trenches, when it feels like the world is against you, that can either bring you closer together or it can tear you apart. And it brought us closer together, not just as a couple, but I think as a family. And I think you guys have all seen that, right? Our family is locked up tight. We are all behind one another all the time. We always have each other's backs. And I'll tell you, it's important to be there for one another.
You know, there's this huge misconception out there that, you have to have a career or you have to be a mother, but they're independent of one another. That if you're a great mother, you can't be a great wife. If you're a great mother, you can't have a great career. If you have a great career, you can't be a great mother and wife. And that's totally false. You can do it all. And honestly, she's the epitome of that. She's an unbelievable mother. She drops the kids off at school every day, picks them up, never misses a game. She has an unbelievable career at Fox. What she did at the RNC is unbelievable. She was a big part of the victory, my father's victory, exactly 1 year ago today. And beyond that, she's a great wife.
Bring her back. Bring her back. Bring her back.
Oh, we need it. We need it.
Thank you.
How do you really feel, Benny?
Nice.
Well, I mean, this is what I feel. Laura, this is how I feel. Let's see if the thousands of people here tonight feel the same way. Was Laura Trump one of the single most effective RNC leaders in history? The most effective RNC leader in history. By a show of cheers, who wants Laura Trump back at the RNC?
Yeah.
Just saying, not trying to get you in trouble.
Wow, thank you guys. That's very nice. Well, what I will say is that today is such a special day, November 5th. I mean, we all know 365 days ago was the greatest comeback in the history of American politics, right? And what's very interesting about the comeback is that we all probably remember as well another election 4 years before that in 2020. I can tell you this, nobody fought harder to win an election than those of us in our family, and no one was more upset when things turned out a different way than we all wanted than those of us in our family. Now, here's what I'll say. 81 million people were not so inspired by a guy who campaigned out of his basement that he got more votes than anyone in the history of America ever had. I don't know why you would ever need ballots in a suitcase, but okay. Now, here's what else I'll say. We left the White House on January 21st of 2021, And it was very sad. It was a very dark time. It was a very depressing time. And you guys in here probably all felt it as well. But what we didn't realize then, that I think everyone in here can agree with, is that things don't always happen on our time. They happen in God's time. And the incredible things that this president, our 45th and our 47th president of the United States, Donald Trump, has been able to do this term in office would not have been possible with 2 back-to-back consecutive terms. We needed the 4 years. He needed the 4 years. America needed the 4 years because we saw what you get with the other side, and America said, absolutely not, hell no, America first, bring Donald Trump back, and we got him, guys.
By the way, should we see what he's doing right now? Should we try calling him?
Oh.
Can we do it?
Let's do it.
We
All right,
know
let's. Can we call Trump? Should we call President Trump?
Hold on 1 second.
It says Dad POTUS on his phone, just so you know. Let's see.
Hold on 1 second.
Hello? Hello?
So we have the most beautiful crowd of people, thousands and thousands of people at Auburn University. They are incredibly enthusiastic, and they absolutely adore this country, they adore God, and they adore you.
Well, I want to just say hello to everybody. I hope Eric is doing a good job and Laura's doing a good job. And Auburn's a special place. I've been there many times. I know many people from that area, number one, and from that school. It's a great school. And we love Alabama. We won Alabama by 45 points, so we love it. But I just want to pay my respects to Charlie and Erica. These are 2 incredible people. And Eric, I've spoken to her often. She's just a spectacular person. And she's going to start where Charlie left off. And we should never allow this to happen. One of the greatest people we've ever known, and was so responsible for our win. And we love Charlie's looking down on us right now, all of us. And Erica, you're there someplace and you just take care of yourself. We're with you all the way, and we're with the great people that my son and Lara are speaking to. And I love you all. As President of the United States, I love you all, and our country is doing great. We've never been in a position like this. The investments being made, all of the money coming in, and a lot of it's responsible that our great Charlie, I'll tell you what, he was the first in line, always the first in line to help. So I just want to pay my respects to Charlie and everybody, and we love you all. Thank you very much, everybody. And Eric, you better do a good job. These are smart people. They know if you're not doing a good job, they're going to report back to me. Good luck, everybody.
Good night, Pops. We all love you.
Incredible. A call in from USA, USA, USA.
You know, this is the spirit why the other side just doesn't have a chance in the future, guys. I mean, this is the group, this is the spirit that's going to save the United States of America. It's this heart, it's this soul, it's this movement. They thought they could kill our friend, and they thought they could delete all of us. You know, they tried to kill my father. They tried to kill my father twice. They tried to bankrupt us. They tried to take out our company. I became the most subpoenaed person in American history for doing nothing wrong. They tried to throw him off the ballots. They tried to strip our First Amendment rights, right? They stripped us from Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. Why did they do that? They wanted to remove our voice. They wanted to remove his voice. They wanted to remove Charlie's voice. They sure as hell wanted to remove her voice. They wanted to remove my father's voice, and they wanted to turn down all of your voices. And we wouldn't allow them to do it. They tried to do it on every campus around the country. They tried to do it by silencing you, where if you wrote a paper that a teacher disagreed with, they would fail you. And you know what, guys? It's backfired in such a monumental fashion, and it's just cemented the vote of the youth of this country for the next 50 years, and they're getting exactly what they deserve.
Tonight is the anniversary of election night, and so it's probably a time to reminisce a bit. The 2024 election cycle We played some of the greatest hits. Can you give us some behind-the-scenes stories that perhaps no one's ever heard? Or perhaps embellish something that we've all seen that we don't know about?
Well, I'll tell you, sitting backstage, what I was thinking about is that on November 4th of last year, which was the night before the election, we traveled to several different rallies across the country with my father-in-law, and we ended in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which is where he ended in 2016, which is where he ended in 2020. So, of course, we had to end there in 2024. And we had been going all day. And I knew that last one, right? We were talking about it backstage. We said, he's not going to want this to end because this is going to be his last rally. And sure enough, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, 2:30 in the morning, and we were all backstage, basically asleep. This man has been on stage for hours at every rally all day long, and he is still going. And he all of a sudden, he goes, what do you think? Do you want to hear from my kids? Should I bring my kids out? And we were all like, oh, we better get up. We better get it together. And he called us out on stage, and it was actually so amazing and such a moment that I'll never forget, standing there on stage with him, thinking about that being the last rally he would ever have. Except, what about the Trump 2028 hats?
What about them? So do you want to know who actually created the Trump 2028 hat? She's standing right there. So Kim, she's been with me for a very long time. She's getting very fresh one day.
Yeah, Kim.
She comes up to me. She goes, "Hey, we've got to do something. We've got to mess with the media today. So we can do, the MAGA hats like print on demand." So she changes the 4 to an 8, and she brings it into my office and she throws me a hat. She's like, "Put it on. I'm just gonna take a picture of you." So I put on this picture. This guy about 2 seconds later, retweets the me wearing the Trump 2028 hat with no text or anything. Elon 2 seconds after that retweets this. This thing goes viral. I mean, you've got hundreds and hundreds of millions of likes and views and everything else on this hat. The media went freaking nuts, guys. It was so fun. Is your father trying to subvert democracy based on the fact that...
You understand the Constitution, right?
The Constitutional doesn't allow you to run for a third time. And I'm literally grabbing my phone and I'm taking pictures as fast as I can of these emails coming in, and I'm just putting them up on my Instagram feed, right, over and over and over. I'm putting these laughing emojis on there. So after about 12 hours of them melting down, she's like, we've got to keep this going somehow. And she comes up with this. She's like, we need a slogan. So it became Trump 2028, rewrite the rules, right? And we posted that, and the same people from the media started melting down again. It was so great. I'm like, it's easier to troll the media in this country than it is to manipulate my 6-year-old son on Halloween with a bucket full of candy, right? It is so funny.
But isn't that what's so amazing right now is that, I said a few minutes ago that it was so important, I think, the 4 years in between, because how Donald Trump has flipped the script on the mainstream media is a thing of beauty, ladies and gentlemen. Think about the first term, right? The first term, it was like he was on his heels the whole time. The whole White House was constantly having to field incoming. They were on defense all the time. They were getting it from the media, from the Democrats, from the Republicans in some respects as well. This time around, he just swats them off like gnats. They don't even know what to do with themselves. He's like, who are you, ABC? Fake news, sit down, next. It's so great. Isn't it great? This White House is 100% on offense, killing it every single day. And guess what? The American people are winning. It is so great to watch. I love it.
Eric, I would love to hear your story from the trail, something that comes to top of mind in 2024.
Oh, God. I mean, there's so many. Well, 2016, 2024, every story. I mean, guys, you got to remember, we're a political family that did not know, we were not a political family. We didn't know what the hell we were doing, right? I remember in 2016, I tell this story once in a while. My father calls me up one day on the cell phone. He goes, honey, I need you to go on Megyn Kelly tonight, all right? I need you to defend me. She's going to kill me on immigration. And I go, Pops, I'm happy to go on Megyn Kelly tonight, but I don't know a damn thing about immigration, right? I don't know a single thing. Really good at building buildings, really good at building golf courses, really good at running great properties around the world. I don't know a damn thing about immigration. Here I was on Megyn Kelly about 15 minutes later trying to defend his immigration policy. This is like 4 minutes after he came down the escalator. We're gonna build the wall. I'm like, great, this is gonna be great. I know nothing about building a wall. I mean, I can do it in construction, and we're really good at that. But think about the disadvantage we had. And Laura mentioned God before, and I have to go back to this for a second. Hillary Clinton raised $1.5 billion. My father self-funded his pretty much his entire first campaign. We didn't know what a delegate was. We didn't know what the Iowa caucuses were. We didn't know a damn thing about the game. We didn't know anything about Washington, D.C. My father had been in Washington, D.C. about 7 times, and that's when we built a hotel there, right? It had nothing to do with politics. We didn't know a damn thing about the system, and yet we were able to beat her at her own game based on heart and soul and work ethic and family. And you always have this kind of saying in politics, which is keep your kids, keep your family the hell away from political campaigns.
We didn't abide by that.
We did the exact, guys, we didn't have anybody. What was really funny about 2024, to kind of Benny's question, we had everybody coming up to me. I'd have congressmen every single day. I would love to endorse your father. Could you please arrange a time where I could come endorse your father, right? It actually helped them substantially more than it actually helped my father. And I'm laughing. I'm sitting there saying in 2016, we didn't have one single endorsement. It was like Don, myself, Laura, Benny, Janine Pirro, Charlie. A little bit, like Charlie. Other than that, like we had no one, absolutely no one. It's just so funny how far that we've come in this little journey.
Well, here's what I'll say. This isn't a campaign trail story, but this is a story from in between the campaign. You put up a picture of what I'll argue is maybe the greatest mugshot in the history of America, Donald J. Trump's mugshot. Yeah. So that night that he got that mugshot taken, I was actually seconds away. I was all mic'd up to go on TV for something, and my phone rings, and it's my father-in-law calling me, and I'm like, oh my God, he just left getting the mugshot taken. And so I pick up the phone, and I was like, hi, I'm about to go on TV, so I'm all mic'd, so I didn't want him to say something, don't want everybody in the world to hear. And he goes, okay, honey, that's okay. You go ahead. And I was like, but wait, how are you? He was like, isn't it crazy, honey? It's just freaking nuts. And then he stops and he goes, but it's also really cool. That is who our president of the United States is, guys. That's amazing. Yeah. I was like, what a badass. Like, he just doesn't even care. And he goes, and you know who else has a mugshot? Elvis.
He would say the greatest lines. He'd say the same thing, honey. Is it the first time that getting indicted was great for a politician's polls? I'm like, in this case, I think it was. I mean, think about it. Every time they indicted my father, because people understood their game after Russia, right after the dirty dossier, after the impeachment 1, impeachment 2, after going after Kavanaugh, after the constant games, after the censorship, after the gag orders. People understood exactly what they were doing to him, right? Every day that they kept him in a courtroom, people understood the hypocrisy, right? They were coming after us, but they wouldn't do a damn thing to Hunter Biden, right? A guy who had a laptop from hell, a guy who lived a very dirty life, a guy who, drugs and so many other things. But yet, so there were only so many times you could cry wolf before every American caught on. We all caught on to their system. And so all of a sudden, they would go and indict him again. They would get a mugshot, and all of a sudden, his polls would go up by another 10%. And he would joke about it. He goes, this is the first time in political history we're getting indicted actually helped a person's polls. And he was 100% right.
And I would actually argue that whether we're talking about the indictments, obviously mugshot, how did it all work out for old Fanny down in Fulton County, Georgia, by the way? How did it work out for her? How's it working out for Letitia James? Maybe not so great. Maybe they made some bad decisions. Whether it's that, whether it's all of the ways they try to take him off the ballot, the mud they would sling his way every possible chance, the raid on Mar-a-Lago, all of these different things, and obviously 2 assassination attempts. We all know why Donald Trump is the 47th president. It's because God wanted him to be in the White House to save this country and save the world. Because this man has solved 8 conflicts around the world, and he hasn't even been in office for an entire year. It's amazing. Peace in the Middle East. Who thought we'd see it? Donald J. Trump brought it to you. Amazing.
How much did he love working at McDonald's?
How much did he love McDonald's?
Working at McDonald's.
Well, I think he knew the menu better than most people. Benny, you've been on the plane with a lot of McDonald's. You've eaten McDonald's plenty of times with us. Like, he knew that menu cold.
You should tell everybody here, honey, the story of your dad doing the drive-through through McDonald's.
So long before politics, we were buying a golf course, and so we're in this white Rolls Royce of his, and we're going down the Jersey Turnpike, and
Donald Trump is driving.
And he's
it.
driving. And by the way, we're doing like 45 miles an hour, and literally people are looking in the window, and they're literally, I think, giving us the finger. But he's like, everybody loves me, honey. Look at this. Everybody loves me.
They're all honking for me.
And so we go down there. We do the whole tour of the golf course. Talk to all the members. It was great. And on the way back, he goes, honey, we got to go to McDonald's. And I go, I literally, I can't drive 45 miles an hour down the Jersey Turnpike. I'm driving. He goes, but we have to go to McDonald's. So we go to McDonald's in this seedy town in this white Rolls Royce of his, and we pull in, and people are like, that's Donald Trump. He's like, yeah, we'll take 4 Big Macs. We'll take 6 orders of fries. It was very funny. We ended up flying back up the Jersey Turnpike. I'm like, I am driving this car back to New York because there's no way we're going to be there for a 3-hour period of time. We had so much fun together, but he knows that menu so cold. And by the way, tell me that wasn't the ultimate troll, right? You literally had a political candidate in this country who literally lied about working at McDonald's to try and become more relatable to the American people. You know, my father never played that game, right? And I always hated this. And this happened on both sides of the political aisle. But you'd see these guys show up at the Iowa State Fair, and they were in a brand new, pair of Carhartts. The stickers were still on it. They'd clearly never been worn. They were wearing a pair of work boots, the same thing. They were getting blisters because they had never actually worn the things before. They would ride in on a Harley that somebody would give them 200 yards away from the event to try and fit in and look cool. And my father would show up in a suit and his red tie in Iowa. He flew his helicopter in one time, right? And he's literally giving kids like rides around the fairgrounds. He never pretended to be somebody he wasn't, while you had all these other politicians that were totally phonies that were always trying to put on a show. And America adored that. America adored the fact that he wasn't adapting himself to try and be relatable to others. And yet he became kind of this blue-collar president to so many people, right? Because he was so unique to himself, and he had backbone, and he was on PC, and he said what everybody was thinking, but he did it in his own unique individual way, and he never cowtailed, and he never tried to cater to others. He was just himself. He wasn't fake. He wasn't a phony. And I think the people in this room and the people of this country were sick and tired of the phony politicians. And I think so many of them have become extinct. And by the way, let me just say one last thing. He's become the greatest rhino hunter in the history of rhino hunters. He's killed every rhino in Washington, D.C., and he sent them all packing. And honestly, our party should be so thankful for that.
I can't believe you didn't think that hot sauce in Hillary's purse was authentic, honey. How could you possibly think that?
The assassination attempt. This is something, there's obviously something horrible happening on the left, where they become violent. Whether it's Luigi Mangione, they're permissible of murdering your political opponent or somebody you disagree with. And they venerate it and they celebrate it. And it's the reason why Charlie Kirk is not able to be on stage with us tonight. And it's the reason why your father got hit in the head with a bullet in Butler, Pennsylvania. What is that? What's going on the left? And can you give us a little bit of an insight, perhaps, since it is a Memorial Day and it is also such a historic day and an anniversary, what was that like for your family?
Well, certainly the lack of God for these people. It is pure evil. That's exactly who they are. It's probably the breakdown of the family system. It's a whole lot of societal problems. And it's a group of people who have just flat out lost the argument, right? Isn't it really amazing? I mean, just go back. The entire Democratic game the entire time was identity politics, right? First it was you're a racist. Then it's you're anti-Semitic, right? It's like, well, he's not racist. He's certainly not anti-Semitic. There's never been a person who's been better for the Jewish state than my father ever, right? And then it's really interesting. Then it was, well, you must be sexist then, right? Because those two narratives, and it's like, that's kind of funny because Kellyanne Conway, his first, campaign manager who won in 2016 was a woman, and Laura Trump, who ran the RNC, was a woman, and, Susie Wiles, who was the second campaign manager, was a woman, but, he must be very sexist. And then it's, fine, he's not a sexist, but, he must be a fascist, and yet, who dresses up in black and takes a rifle, at a college campus and sits on a roof and shoots somebody that I truly loved, and somebody that Benny truly loved, and somebody that Laura truly loved, and somebody that we all truly loved? as you engaged in free speech? Like, is the person dressed in black holding a rifle on a roof shooting over the heads of college kids who are engaging in free speech, does that look like a fascist, or does the person who is courageous enough to go to those campuses and debate anybody on that campus because we're right on the issue, who's the fascist? It's sick, guys. It's sick. And that's why we need God in society, because God would cure so many of these problems if you had faith and you had morality and you had religion in your life. If you had good family, you had good values, you had good principles, you were raised correctly. We've got to return our society to that. And that's why family values matters. And honestly, that's why community matters. And that's why events like this matter.
I would also add to that there's been a bit of a normalizing of this really awful rhetoric about people with whom you disagree politically. And I'll go back to Maxine Waters, who many years ago, at the beginning of the first term for President Trump, said that if you see any of those people at a gasoline station, you get up in their face, you let them know they are not welcome. It starts with stuff like that. And then it continues on where these people who have a platform and understand they have a platform are actively spewing hateful rhetoric, telling lies, and inciting this kind of behavior and making it feel somewhat normal. After my father-in-law was nearly killed on stage in Butler, I really genuinely thought, okay, this is a moment where people are going to say enough. We almost saw something really awful happen, and something really awful did happen to Corey Comparator, a father, a firefighter, a husband who we lost, who didn't deserve that at all. And sadly, the hours later, there were people saying, oh, that was fake. That was all staged. When you just normalize something like that, it makes it, sadly, Benny, I think a lot easier for people to justify doing things that are absolutely horrific. And you asked us, what was it like watching that back on July 13th of last year? I mean, it's a moment I'll never forget, and I'll be really honest. When I heard what happened to Charlie, before we really knew what had happened to Charlie, I instantly was taken back to the feelings we had watching television. Eric and I were watching the rally that day, and I was actually making dinner for our kids, and I was so stunned. I was peeling a carrot. My daughter turned around and she goes, look who's on TV, Mom, it's Grandpa. And so I look down, I peel a carrot, and then I look back up and I see he's not on stage anymore. I don't know where he is. Do you know I held that carrot and that carrot peeler in my hand for about an hour? Because I was so shocked. Eric and I were running around. We ran in, we changed the channel because we didn't want our kids to see it, trying to figure out what's going on. But it was terrifying, and thank God that turned out differently. But we were so close to having everything changed in our country. And unfortunately, our friend Charlie did have everything changed. But here's the good news. You're here tonight. We're all here tonight. We are going to carry Charlie's legacy on. What he started, we will finish, ladies and gentlemen. No doubt about it.
Let's just close with this question, then we'll open it up for questions from the audience. Charlie Kirk, a good Charlie story, something uplifting, a profound effect perhaps on your life. I'll begin. I've never seen your brother Don or your father share so passionately their faith in Jesus Christ from the stage at Charlie's memorial. That was a remarkable thing to see, and something that I've never seen it before. And that was the number one most apostolic event in human history. That was seen by hundreds of millions of people, if not billions. What a wonderful tribute, and what a powerful voice of a martyr.
Think that he filled every church in this country. You couldn't even get into church in this country on the following Sundays or ever since then, all because of the action of one lunatic. I mean, think about that. I'll never forget. So about 10, 11 years ago, I met Charlie. He came in. He was 21 years old. He came into my office in New York. He came into Trump Tower, 25th floor. and he met us. Somebody introduced the two of us, and he told me exactly what he wanted to build. And at that time, he only had a couple branches on a couple, campuses. He didn't have the infrastructure. He didn't have the footprint. He didn't have the reach. Turning Point was 1/1000th of what it is certainly today. And he goes, Eric, I'm going to literally change the hearts and minds of youth in this country, and I'm going to start one campus at a time, and I'm going to go across the campus. I go, Charlie, how are you going to do it? He goes, I'm going to invade the student body governments. I'm going to get every elected conservative. They're going to become elected, student body leaders. I'm going to go one by one, and we're going to build this apparatus. And listen, a lot of BS comes through our office doors, right? I hear about a different project every single day that'll probably never get built, and a lot of grand ideas. And I'm saying, wow, this kid's incredible. This guy is really incredible. I mean, pretty lofty goal. I'm not sure if anybody can succeed. How do you change the hearts and minds of youth in this country that has been so poorly indoctrinated by so many teachers, by, not here because you've got a great institution, but by revisionist history? I mean, every single day they're trying to edit our textbooks, change the textbooks. How are you going to go about doing this? And he laid out the plan. And why I say it's deja vu is you're sitting here with somebody missing who was a person that we loved and a person we knew, but every single thing he told me a decade ago, right now, just over a decade ago, has come true, guys, has come true, and you are living proof of it. The fact that we are here, and the fact that over 100,000 chapters have applied to Turning Point to become chapters, and this movement, and the churches, and the stadiums, and the auditoriums, and the masses of people, and the lines. I mean, the lines were forming for this event as we were leaving Florida, and they were long. What does that say about Charlie's legacy? And so for me, it's absolute deja vu. I mean, everything he said he was going to create, he did so times 10. And he is so much bigger right now than he could have ever possibly known. And that's why he's going to live in our heart. And if you think that by taking his life, they were going to silence this movement, they did the exact opposite of what they intended. Be careful. There's something called the law of unintended consequences. The law of unintended consequences. It certainly happened in 2020 when they thought by rigging an election, that was going to be to their benefit, right? No one actually believes that Joe Biden got 16 million more votes than Barack Obama did in 2012. Give me a break. I mean, not everybody might love, Barack Obama, but the guy was charismatic and he could formulate a sentence, unlike Joe Biden, who literally hid in a basement, right? It was their law of unintended consequences. What they did to Charlie Kirk was another law of unintended consequence, and it was the biggest single mistake that they could have ever made.
So I'll actually never forget, Charlie had asked me to go speak at an event at my alma mater, NC State, and we were on the way there. I had just landed in the plane and, getting off at the Raleigh airport, and he called me and he goes, we got a bit of a problem. Turns out there are a lot of people who are very upset that we're coming here tonight. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's not a big deal. He's like, no, the campus security is not totally sure what to expect. They don't know if they can keep us safe. And so, if you want to call it off, if you want to not come, I'll totally understand it. I'll continue on. I'll probably go and speak anyway. But if you don't want to come, then, I get it. And I was like, no, I'm going to come. I'm not going to leave you to hang out here. What was so amazing to me is that there was not a point at which Charlie was ever going to say, we shouldn't do this. He was dedicated to going on that campus. He was dedicated to making sure that the conservatives on the NC State campus felt like they could come out, felt like they could share this moment, and he was going to go. And I'll tell you what, we had an incredible event. There were some lunatics outside, but that's okay. They stayed outside. We had a great event. And you know what? I really appreciated his fight in that moment, because I do think a lot of other people would have said, oh, we got to call this off. I don't know. He was not willing to do that. And I'm so glad that you guys are not willing to give up either. The fact that you're here tonight speaks volumes. We are 1 year out from the biggest election win I think we can all remember, the biggest comeback, as we talked about already. But we're also a year out from midterms. And I want to say this right now. We cannot leave anything to chance. If you take nothing away from yesterday, these elections, we're in blue areas in New York City, in Virginia, and in New Jersey. But the fight is not over, and it takes all of us in here to do that. So as Charlie did on that NC State campus, we're gonna continue on, we're gonna continue fighting, and I'll tell you what, if everybody in here does what I know we can all do, we're gonna continue winning as well.
A couple of questions from the audience, yeah?
Let's go.
Okay.
All right,
Here
so
we go.
looking back yesterday at the headlines, it's kind of crazy, but what do y'all think about a Democratic Socialist winning the mayoral seat for New York City?
Oh, tap me in, Coach, considering I grew up in that city. And guys, this is insane. This is insane. New York needs nothing. You know what New York needs? Safe streets, clean streets, reasonable taxes, and stay the hell out of the way. And New York will be the greatest city anywhere in the world by far. But these people want to destroy it. They want to destroy it. Think about a candidate who literally campaigned on the platform of defunding police. I mean, the guy's crazy, right? He hates the Jewish population in this country. I mean, he keeps on saying that he wants to arrest Netanyahu if he comes into New York. He hates the Indian population in this country. He says that Modi's a war criminal. He wants to nationalize grocery stores in New York. I mean, other than that, the guy is truly brilliant. Guys, it is incredibly, incredibly scary what's happening in this country. They go out, they promise everything to everyone for free, right? And they're actually getting the vote. And we need to be very, 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 very careful of what's happening there. This is going to destroy a great American city, and we can't allow this. We cannot allow this to spread across this country.
The interesting thing to me about that election, too, is that if you believe the exit polls, the majority of the people who actually voted for Mom Donnie in the New York mayoral race were young women. Where are my ladies at in here today? Okay. Yes, ladies. All right. Now, ladies, we also have a little bit of work to do because, unfortunately, the Democrats think that we are susceptible to all of their crazy ideology. And we got to turn that around. We got to bring the ladies over to the conservative side of the aisle and show them that God is where it's at, family's where it's at, having kids is where it's at. And as my husband pointed out earlier, you can have them all and a career. We have to start doing better with speaking to everyone out there, including young women around this country. But I'll tell you the thing with that race that scares me is that is the beginning. And that is the new face of the Democrat Party. If you think they're going to stop at New York, you are kidding yourself. It will be all over the United States of America, which is why we're going to have to fight even harder going forward from here on out, because we can never let this happen ever again in the United States.
Thank you.
Mr. Johnson, Mr. Trump, Ms. Trump, I'd like to ask about your father's relationship with Israel. He's taken over $230 million from pro-Israel groups. During the summer against Iran, even though he advised against it, Israel still attacked Iran and the U.S. still bombed on behalf of Israel. Your father's frustrations with Netanyahu have been made clear when he cursed on national TV over the situation. Israel has not been a great ally to the U.S. all the way since 1960 when they bombed the USS Liberty. Israel is a nation where Christians are constantly under attack in both Gaza and the West Bank. We talk about America first and defending Christians, but how can we do this if we align ourselves with a nation that does not do that itself?
There's no question my father's had frustration. In fact, I think he's had frustration throughout the whole conflict with both sides. At the same time, make no mistake, you have a nation that is chanting death to America every single day on the streets of Tehran. You have a nation that will develop a nuclear weapon, and you have a nation that will use that nuclear weapon against the Western way of life. There's no question about it. You have a nation that will use proxies around the world, whether it's Yemen, whether there's a lot of other ones, to inflict serious harm on this nation, and they don't hide it. They don't hide it. In fact, it's really interesting. About a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago, they put out, the Ayatollah in Iran put out an emoji, a little short video clip of a drone hovering over my father's head as he played golf. This was literally posted on the Ayatollah's, Twitter page, following my father around a golf course with a crosshair right on top of him, as if they wanted to assassinate him and as if they wanted to hurt him. Guys, Iran wanted to destroy our way of life. They wanted to hurt us. They wanted to inflict real pain. What I can tell you about my father is, in terms of Israel, he wants a peaceful Middle East. He wants peace around the world. He wants to end the killing. He did that with India and Pakistan. He did that, obviously, you saw what he did with Cambodia and Thailand. He's tried to stop every conflict because he's sick and tired of the death and destruction. So there have been times that he got mad at Netanyahu. There's plenty of times where he's gotten mad at Putin. There's times where he's been mad at Zelensky. And he uses all of that as a tool to stop pain and destruction and death of people that are our age, your age in most cases, who have become political pawns and who have been marched into literally trenches and killed by the millions. And that's what my father wants to see end right this second. And that's why he's worked so hard for peace around the world. In fact, Donald Trump is the only president in the United States history that's never brought America to war. And I hope he keeps following in that crusade.
In response to the nukes from Iran, Israel has nuclear weapons and is not a part of the IAEA, unlike Iran. And it's just sad to see, because I've never seen the American president get treated the way he does by the Israeli government.
Here's what I'll add. Do we or do we not have phase one of a peace agreement in the Middle East right now? Nothing is ever going to be perfect, but I'll tell you what, this president works with what he has. He believes in peace through strength. And whether we're talking about in the Middle East, whether we're talking about a 40-year war like Armenia and Azerbaijan, as Eric just pointed out, a 5-day war in Thailand and Cambodia, this is a president of peace. And sometimes you have to be slightly unconventional with how you get there. You use what you have. That is certainly what he's been able to do. And I would just say, peace around the world sounds pretty good to me, and that's what this president is bringing.
Good evening. So, I have a pretty busy father myself, but I know you have a very, very busy father. So, has his long hours ever impacted your sleep schedule?
Yeah, 100%.
Yes.
He'll call me at 5 o'clock in the morning. He'll call me at 12 o'clock at night. Then he'll call me at 5 o'clock in the morning. Donald Trump is like the Energizer Bunny on steroids, in like a red tie. And he's always been that. I mean, as long as, and I'll never forget in 2016, you'd have Hillary, she'd be up on stage. Does Donald Trump have the stamina to be president of the United States, right? And, here she is. She packed it in like 3 days before, election day. She thought she won. She filled the Jacob Javits Center in New York with the most beautiful balloons. All her, billionaire supporters were eating caviar and drinking champagne. And guess who was on the stage at 2 o'clock in the morning of election, about 3 hours before he went to actually vote himself in Michigan? Donald Trump, because he wanted to get one more rally in while everybody had already packed it in. So the guy has never been long on sleep. And by the way, isn't that what you want out of the president of the United States? Don't you want somebody who's going to fight their ass off? Here's what I'll tell everybody about him. He was the last person in the world that needed this job. His life would have been a hell of a lot better. Hang out at Mar-a-Lago, fly around on Trump Force One, play golf, hang out with his grandkids, do great real estate deals. And yet, the guy, when he went over to Israel, talk about Israel and, Egypt for the peace deal, he literally went over there, flew over there, did 2 stops in Israel, did a stop in Egypt, and ended up getting back 36 hours later so he could give our great friend Erica the Presidential Medal of Freedom for Charlie Kirk. He was able to pull that all off in a 36-hour period. Joe Biden couldn't have accomplished all of that in 3 months. I mean, literally, he wouldn't have had the stamina. So, thank God we have a president that runs hard. Thank God we have a president. The guy will come off of Air Force One at 2 o'clock in the morning, give a press conference at Andrews Air Force Base, hop on Marine One, fly to the White House, get off, do another pressure aid, down right in front of, on the South Ground lawn, go up, and then sure enough, you'll have a press conference at 9 o'clock in the morning in the Oval Office. By the way, all in defense of America, and all as the greatest cheerleader America has ever seen. And I think that's exactly what we want in a Commander-in-Chief.
And by the way, Benny, you asked about good campaign stories. This is one that speaks exactly to that. When we left Grand Rapids, Michigan, after that final rally of last year, we got on the plane to fly back to Palm Beach, packed, with the whole campaign crew. And you would think because the next day, everybody's going to be up early, start to finish, like we're going hard again, making sure we turn everybody out, then maybe you'd want to rest a little bit. Not Donald Trump. It was a full concert on the plane the whole way home. Nobody slept a wink. We all walked off of that plane just absolutely exhausted, but knowing we left nothing to chance. We left it all out on the field. And we played a lot of great music on that plane on the way back, I'll tell you. You may have heard he's pretty big on the iPad playing DJ.
What song, real
right?
fast? November Rain. You have some Sinead O'Connor. Nothing compares to you. You have some REM.
Phantom of the Opera.
Rolling Stones, some Broadway.
Elvis. Yeah, we did a lot. We did it all. All of it.
Thank
He's
you.
Always going.
Thank you very much.
Hi, guys. My name's Gavin. Just on behalf of all of us, I really want to thank you guys for coming out tonight.
Thank you, Gavin.
Yeah, what a beautiful time this has been in honor of Charlie. Speaking of, I'm very Christian. I'm extremely pro-life to the point where I'm also anti-death penalty. I was just curious on, it's one of the few things that actually Charlie disagreed with the president about. What is the president's stance moving forward as it goes with protection of unborn life?
Well, I think you know where he stood all along. I mean, this is the first president to participate in anything that has been pro-life, to the capacity that he has. I think he's been very clear on his stance for that. We know that he promised us that he would put Supreme Court justices on the bench. He put 3 of them on there, and we saw the fall of Roe v. Wade, right? He worked very long and hard to ensure that he got good people to do that. The first president to speak at the March for Life, and I don't think he's ever shied away from his position. And he's the one who will tell you the story about actually changing his position, that for a long time, he wasn't pro-life until he actually met back up with a child of someone who he knew from years before, who thought about having an abortion, kept the baby, and then he talks about the fact that he met this young man or woman who really impressed him, that he was like, God, this is what happens. This is what the beautiful part of life is all about. And it changed his mind completely. So I don't think he's changed his stance. I think he's been very clear on that. Anything else to add? Yeah.
Thank you. Yep.
Thank you. But as it goes for stance on the death penalty, do you think that any more can be pushed in that direction as it goes for a pro-life stance?
Yeah, I think he's probably not changing his mind on death penalty. There's a lot of people who have inflicted a lot of harm, and I get it. I get it if you're pro-life, but I don't think we're changing his mind on death penalty.
Probably not.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. A lot of presidents, a lot of Republican presidents in our lifetime have said that they are pro-life, and not a single one of them went the 200 feet from the Oval Office to the March for Life, and President Trump has done it every single year. Spoken to the March for Life, and done so very strongly.
Hi, you guys. My name is Audrey, and I want to thank you guys again for being here. This is such a special moment for everyone. I would like to preface, I'm from the suburbs of Chicago, and ever since I was little, even up until now, my parents have advised me to stay away from Chicago, and I can see why, and I do. Our governor is a disaster, and he denies the crime that goes on in Chicago, and he goes against federal laws and policies, and it really sucks. And I just would like to know what steps President Trump will be making to lessen the crime in Chicago. I really appreciate that he's already taken steps with the National Guard and ICE agents, but I would just like to know what steps he'll be taking in the future.
So Audrey, this is such a great question. And by the way, this has real like deep meaning. I built our building in Chicago. You've probably seen it many, many times as you were in there. It's the tallest building in the city, second tallest building in the city, the seventh tallest building in the world when we built it. And Chicago's gone to hell, and it is deeply sad. And Chicago's a city that's been run by Democrats for the last 100 years. And despite that, they go further and further and further to the left every single election, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And if you look at what my father did with Washington, D.C., in 12 days, they arrested 4,300 people. And crime went from being astronomical, not quite Chicago, but bad, to being 100% perfect, meaning, they have no murders. The point is, we've seen this story before. We've seen this movie. It can be done. And yet, I know your governor, and I know Pritzker, and he's been an absolute disaster. I mean, you have the president of the United States saying, I want to come, and I want to be your partner, and I want to fix this problem. They had a weekend recently where you had 70 shootings, and a lot of those translated into murders. Every single day, brothers and sisters and husbands and wives and daughters and sons are getting mowed down, and they don't give a damn. And you know why they don't give a damn? They don't give a damn because if Donald came in and he fixed the problem, it would be a huge stain on the Democratic Party forever, in that he was able to fix a problem that they, for the last 100 years, couldn't get under control as it progressively got worse. Remember the problems you had in Chicago. I mean, you literally had people under Lori Lightfoot, who was the last mayor of Chicago, who were leaving piles of bricks along Michigan Avenue so people could go up, grab the bricks, and throw them through, storefronts. And you know how I know this? Because I took care of every single one of those, those Chicago PD officers in our hotel that were bloodied, that were cut, that were beat to hell. We took care of them in Trump Chicago. Like, we became like their fortress during remember, it was it was the summer of love, they called it. It was the mostly peaceful protests, as CNN called it, as the cars burned on streets all across this country. It is so sad because we know the problem can be fixed. It was so sad because Donald Trump has already proven that he can fix the problem. The problem is you have corrupt, incompetent politicians who don't care about this country and don't care about the citizens, but only care about their political party, despite the fact that comes at a massive detriment to the people of Chicago. And I'm telling you, if you gave Donald Trump 2 weeks, you'd have the safest country in the nation. We've seen it done before, and I hope to God he goes in there and just takes care of business, because the people of Chicago deserve it.
Thank you. I agree, and I believe in him.
Thanks, Audrey.
This will be our last question.
Hello, so we're in high school, and talking about politics is just really brutal because it goes straight to name calling. So my question is, for people who disagree with us, how can we try to find a way to commonly come together and talk about at our age?
Well, first of all, thank you, ladies, for being here tonight. This is absolutely incredible to have you. And I would say, if you ever feel like you are too nervous to talk to somebody or you're not sure what to say, remember our friend Charlie Kirk over there. Channel Charlie. Take a moment. Understand that you are speaking from a place of truth. You are speaking from a place of goodness. You are speaking from a place of understanding. And you can just tell these people that this is what you believe. They don't have to believe it with you. And that is the beauty of the United States of America, because we can agree to disagree in this great country. That's what it's all about.
But also have backbone. I can't tell you how little backbone so many people have, right? When DEI was running rampant, guess who went against it, right? And that wasn't popular, and that was often hard. When my father had to go out, and remember how brutal it was? You had men my size swimming in women's, collegiate sports, right? And that became the acceptable norm until Donald Trump came in and started beating the drum. Once in a while, you have to beat the drum. You have to stand up for what's right, even if it feels unpopular. So oftentimes, the things that feel unpopular are actually the most popular things. You can't back down, and you can't cower, and you can't hide, and you can't silence your voice, and you can't just think something and compartmentalize it. You actually really have to follow your heart. right? And you also have to be smarter than them. That's what Charlie did better than anybody. He was the best debater, and he was sharper than them, and he was right on the issues, right? So between the fact that he was smarter and he was actually correct in terms of the policy, he could win the debate. And that's what I hope you can both do, and I think that's what I hope we can all do. Be smarter than them and be right on the issues and win the debate, and do so using civility, and not evil and violence, which is so oftentimes what the side that is losing in this country is resorting to.
Thank you so much.
That's really helpful.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, Auburn.
Thanks, guys.
We love you guys.
That was awesome.
This is it for tonight.
Thank you guys very much.
We love you.
God bless you guys. Thank you.